Greetings duelists and welcome to another video. This is part 2 of Deck Report Season 4 week number 2. Uh, Unfortunately, I am back with Maliss again. I was originally planning to play another deck for the weekend, but there was a little bit of miscommunication, and at the end of the day, it just didn't end up working out. I couldn't get the right amount of time to prepare the other strategy I kind of wanted to play. I'm profiling Maliss again. I did do a little bit of an update from the last list that I showcased on Friday. And this will mainly be talking about the locals that I played this at, the adaptation that I did to the deck, and a little bit of like what am I thinking about Maliss as a whole, because there is a little bit more I want to talk about that I didn't go in depth with the last deck profile or the last deck report. But yeah, without further ado, I'll do the list first, and then we'll talk about the changes that I did, and then we'll talk about the deck overall. So 3 Dormouse, 3 Rabbit, 3 Cat, Meow Mine, Dustcaper, Lubellion, Magna, Baldrake, Triple Druisworm, Veiler, Ogre, Nibiru, Sauravis, and Levianeer. That's it for monsters. I think there are 22 or 23. Spell cards: Triple Underground, Double Allure, Triple Talents, 2 Enemy Controller, Regained, Called By, Reborn, Sark, Terraforming, and Chaos Space. That is a total of 16 spells. Quite heavy for a non-striker version of Maliss. And then we have the last 3 Maliss trap cards. So the list is 41. That's it for the main deck. Extra, there is one changing here. Lingeribo, Decoder, Lixerdos, Splash Mage, IPSP, the 3 Maliss names. The one change I did to the extra now is I'm playing Nightmare Griffin. Then we have Firewall Dragon, we have Access Code, and we have the Neo Tempest package. So to draw 3 Ash, 3 Lancea, 2 Dark Rulers, Duster, Thrust, and the 3D Barrier. Okay, so explanation time. I'll start with the extra deck first, since this is the easiest one to accommodate. So I opted to play Nightmare Griffin in the extra deck. When you are doing this combo, you have to decide whether or not you want to end on Griffin or Terahertz. There are combos with multiple extenders that can get you to both, especially my build that is playing 6 Bystials. But it's not super common that you can get to both consistently. So you do have to make a contingency plan. One engine is stronger against the hand traps, and the other one is stronger against like board breakers. If you're going against the board breaker approach, then this dumping this, or if you feel like your opponent already tried to exhaust you with hand traps and they have very minimal resources for their engines, you just punish them by summoning this. I can show the combo for this because I I noticed that not a lot of people know that combo. This was an OCG idea. I saw this from Kurokadoja, and a lot of people in the OCG are doing this. But now in the TCG, people are catching on. There are people in the TCG that are playing this. I faced against 2 Striker Maliss decks this weekend, and one of them was playing this. So I think people are catching on to this idea, despite being originated and like being more adapted towards the OCG. So, main deck choices. The first thing we can talk about is Sauravis. So, the really cool thing about Sauravis is that it is another searchable light monster of Chaos Space. In the off chance you already opened or drew into Lobelion already. This protecting you from targeting hand traps or disruption is pretty good. I am not playing Crossout in this build, but if I were to play Crossout, this also overlaps into the Voiceless matchup. So whenever you're facing Voiceless Voice and they depend on this as part of their end board, you can just cross out this away and you no longer have to fear the Sauravis like nuking your, stopping your Link summons. The winner of our locals this past Sunday was playing Voiceless Voice, so it's good for people to catch that on to that idea. I was not playing Crossout, but if I was already going to be even more prepared for the matchup, especially since I did defeat that same Voiceless player on Thursday. Shout out to Joe. But yeah, I liked it in testing. It's one of those weird cards where you kind of just want to start playing the game for this to be helpful. But with so many targeting cards right now, like Veiler, Imperm, Mourner are everywhere. So this just stops those. If you're going second against Ryziel and their opponent is trying to detonator you, you can use this to like stop them as well. If your opponent does the ending Master Pact strategy with this, you can also stop it with this. This also negates the Desiree when you're facing the Fiendsmith deck. Like if they try to do like the Fiendsmith trap to just send the Desiree and then try to target one of your card monsters, you can just use this and just negate it. So overall, I did like it. It's also searchable off Magnamut, so if you are like in turn 0 and you like just want to start playing the game, but you know that your opponent could have targeting cards like Imperms and stuff, just grabbing the Sauravis of Magnamut is also really cool. And it's also researchable. It's also recyclable of Chaos Space, so that's another thing to note. But yeah, that's it for Sauravis. I liked it in testing. I don't know if I'll keep playing it. The other really cool card that we were playing in the deck is Enemy Controller. Shouts to Derek Morales from EJ Gaming. He was the one who told me about this card. He talked about like testing it in other decks. But in Maliss specifically, I kind of like this card a lot because a lot of people are just trying to like get rid of your resources very quickly, and you can use this to punish them and just like use their resources against them. This also is an inherent auto detonator. This also secures OTK lines. Like for example, I was playing a Maliss mirror match and I knew my opponent had Magnamut, and basically I just made an end board that looked like it could not OTK if they Magnamut resolved, and then they summoned the Magnamut, and then I just used Enemy Controller to take the Magnamut, and that ended up with just winning me the game outright. This also was really good going first. There were 2 Ryziel opponents that I faced where they summoned their non-Ryziel rank 4 without any Ryziels in graveyard, with them already using X Ryziel. And what I ended up doing because of that is I ended up like taking away their XYZ monster, and they didn't have a Ryziel in graveyard, so they couldn't special their Sword Ryziel. They already exhausted X Ryziel, so that's no longer an extender for them. And they already wasted their normal summon with Ice Ryziel. So if you have this plus like any negation card, it's not a bad idea to just stop them from keep grabbing extenders, because a choke point of the deck is if you just leave them on no resources for them to continue playing the game. And it sounds dumb, and it sounds like something that people shouldn't let, like it doesn't realistically should happen, but it did happen to me yesterday twice. So that's one thing to take note of. Yeah, in testing, I really like this card a lot. In tournament setting, I did draw it every once in a while, and every time I drew this card or opened this card, it felt great having it in my in my deck. So yeah, if you're a Maliss player and you're looking for text to like play against the format, this is really good. Another cool thing that I did with this was I was playing against a Maliss player, a Maliss opponent, and they summoned their White Binder. And I did have already starters in my hand, but I wanted to like make sure that it just went through. I ended up summoning a Dormouse. I activated Dormouse, they chained Imperm, I chained the enemy controller, and I took their White Binder. And that ended up winning me the game, because I did White Binder to set a trap, like link away the White Binder, like summon Ramson, and now I have traps to like insulate my Ramson from from being disrupted. And yeah, another really cool trick that you can do with enemy controller. So really good card. So the main deck is 41. I kind of wanted to play 40. I wanted the engine to be as cohesive as possible. The one card I thought about cutting was Bystial Boldrake. I was looking at the Maliss Fiendsmith deck that topped the German Open, and that German player, or that person who topped, I think their name is Nico from Team Raid and Trade. They brought up how only Druisworm and Magnamut were really good Bystials, and all the other Bystials were not as good outside of just being extenders. And at that point, you just want to like be safe with give extra utility and be safe with the extenders that you're playing. So this was almost going to get cut from the deck. However, I just felt like I just wanted that extra extender. And I did drew into Boldrake once or twice. It did win me one game, not for the utility of its own field effect, but just being a Bystial. One thing to talk about here, since we still have the enemy controller, if you open Druisworm plus enemy controller, like you realistically should not fear any Ryziel board unless they have the Photon Monster. Even if they have the Photon Monster, because I've seen games where people summon the Photon Starleech Dragon, but it does not have 2000 attack because they end up detaching from Dual Drive, which again is a big misplay. But in some of those games, I just go Druisworm, and then I go enemy controller, tribute the Druisworm, take their Starleech Photon Monster, and then Druisworm on separate chain to just get rid of Detonator. And you just got rid of 2 cards easily for the price of 1. So yeah, I have not done this combo a lot. However, like I did open this combo like one game against Ryziel, but I got Lancea'd. So sadly, I couldn't perform that play. Otherwise, it probably would have been a blowout. So I think that's it. There's nothing else that's a lot different than like the last list outside of like those changes. I kind of just want to talk about the deck as a whole. So I played yesterday at my locals. It was 27 players, so 5 rounds of Swiss, and I ended X2. My 2 losses were both to Ryziel, and they were both on game 3, and they were both to Lancea. So I think it's a clear indicator that Lancea is a really big problem for this deck, and as long as Lancea is around, you kind of need to make game building decisions with the deck. Another thing that I want to bring up is both those Ryziel matchups that I ended up losing. I ended up losing one game because I bricked as well. Every both games where I ended up losing. So right now, like, Maliss has a big consistency issue, and I know Signet Mining is a card, and I know that there are other alternatives for starters, but the problem is those starters are very situational, and we are in a format where the resource game is very, very important now more than ever. So I can't just risk playing those cards knowing that, like, Ash Blossom is everywhere. Like, people are just like dogpiling on hand traps. Maliss is a deck where when its engine goes off, like when engines pop off, you can play through realistically through any combination of interruptions without Lancea involved. However, most games you just want as many resources available to you. You just want as many extenders. That's why you don't see that many hand traps in this build. Like, I'll be straight up honest. The only reason these 4 hand traps are here in the first place is because of Chaos Space. That's pretty much the only reason these cards are in here. I do like Ghost Ogre a lot. I think Ghost Ogre, like, is valid. I did draw Veiler once or twice, and every time I drew the Veiler, it did something. Except for the one time that I did get cross-outed. I did resolve Nibiru once, and Nibiru was very helpful as well. But overall, I just don't think, like, heavy hand traps is the right approach for this deck. I do see some OCG builds where they just play Droll and they play like another combination of hand traps. I do know that there's the Sky Striker version where they do play Dominus Impulse. Oh, another thing, I've 2-0'd every single Striker Maliss matchup that I faced. I think to this day I've only lost to one Maliss player, and it was because of Lancea. So it's not really the mirror match the issue, it's just Lancea itself. So yeah, I kind of have to figure that out. YCS China was this past weekend, and the finals was a Maliss mirror match. Like, no Ryziel made it to top 4, and that just shows you how powerful this deck is if Lancea is not in the meta game. But as long as Lancea is in the game, Ryziel is just going to be one step ahead of this deck, because Ryziel has way lesser weaknesses than this deck. And you can make the argument for Dimensional Barrier, but like, smart Ryziel players are not going to lose to Dimensional Barrier. But smart Maliss players really cannot play through Lancea that well unless they draw the right cards. But yeah, that's it for my deck report. I kind of want to talk about the OCG ban list. I'll do that in a separate video. I kind of want to talk about the format a little bit as well. I really do like this format. I think this format is not that bad. I think compared to Rage of the Abyss format, this format is perfectly okay. It just sucks that there are silver bullet cards in the game where they just outright end the opponent's turns, and those cards are very popular right now. But that's pretty much my TLDR with that. Yeah, stay tuned. That'll be it. Keep practicing and keep dueling.